Hello, everybody. It is Wednesday. We're coming to you live from Invest in Education Academy. We have a good one for you today. We're going to be talking about Biden's plan to put infrastructure in place for the EV vehicles. So that whole build out we're going to talk about. And this is one where you definitely want to tax money. It's a huge market coming. And of course, we're going to give you our two stock picks today. And for everybody who's listening to us now, you can join us after this is over on Clubhouse. And for those of you all who are listening to the podcast, every Wednesday around 9:30, 10 o'clock, we will be going live inside the Clubhouse platform. Feel free to join us on any given Wednesday. While Leon tells you why we picked this topic, I'm going to do what I always do, and that will be some housekeeping.
Yes, so today Biden introduced his infrastructure plan, $2 trillion worth, and it hadn't really come out what was in it till today, right? There were rumors about what it would be. And when it came out today, the biggest thing, at least for me, the biggest takeaway for me was that there is a $174 billion to be committed to building out an electric vehicle charging station infrastructure in the United States. 174 billion with a B dollars, huge amount. The full package is 2 trillion, and this particular section is 174 billion. So, and the reason this is big time is because two reasons. One, electric vehicles, as we all know, are the next coming wave in mobility. And two, there's essentially like no infrastructure for, well, not none. There's a very little amount of infrastructure for EVs right now. So there's a huge opportunity to invest in and profit from the build out of essentially the new age gas stations, right? We're going from fossil fuels now to electric vehicles, and this new infrastructure has to be built out. Well, Biden recognizes that he's he touts himself as the green thumb president. And this is part of his package, is to build out these electric vehicles, and more importantly, and more specifically, electric vehicle charging stations, which is in this bill. So Brent, we get change. You throw up slide one.
Yep. And for anybody who's thinking, how do we know this is the next big thing? You're talking about less than 5% of vehicles on the road right now are in the EV space or in the EV category. So when we get to full EV economy, or as far as it goes for cars, it still has 95% growth waiting to happen. Now,
Right.
Granted, no industry hits like that 100% mark where 100% of all cars on the road are electric vehicles, and nor do we expect that. But you're talking about being less than 5%. So that's huge opportunity for growth. And then when you look at that infrastructure, there has to be supporting cast to provide services, to provide vehicles, to provide parts, to provide components. I mean, it's so many aspects. And, for anybody who wants to go deeper with this after we're done, I think this is something we can deconstruct and unwrap, look for the opportunities inside the platform.
Yeah, I mean, it's to me, it's almost like cryptocurrencies, right? Like you're getting in on the ground floor of an industry, and that's what we're getting in right now. Is this crypto is just starting out, basically the ground floor, and now you have EV just essentially starting out, getting on the ground floor. But like Brent said, with that, you also have to have the infrastructure for it. And right now, it exists to a small extent. I mean, there's a reason that like Tesla, right? Tesla being the biggest one. We all know, the electric vehicle company, they're actually building out their own network. And then to build up the network is crazy expensive. It's a huge cost to Tesla, but it had to be done. They know they couldn't sell abundance of their cars if people didn't feel safe about traveling long distances. So they're building out their own. What's happening now, which is crucial, is that the federal government is coming in and saying, hey, we're going to assist private industry in building out this network, which is, I mean, a huge deal. $174 billion is in this infrastructure package that Biden just put out to build out this infrastructure.
Yeah, and you think about it, for most America, for the government, like, why would the government get into this? Why is the government stepping in? Because this is how the economy works. And the government wants people driving around the United States, spending money, stopping places, visiting small towns, doing everything you normally would do as efficiently as you can possibly do it, because that spreads money across all these states in these small counties. They normally they wouldn't get an influx of capital. So it's in their best interest to support the infrastructure of these build outs. Plus it just moves towards a quote unquote cleaner environment, because we still got to think about what happens with the runoff of all these batteries when they're time to recycle them, but that's a whole nother thing. So
the green portion is important. is that Biden's been touting since when he was running, is that the whole the Green New Deal, saving the environment. This is a big portion of that. Fossil fuels are probably the biggest, if not the biggest polluter on the planet. Is one of them is cars. So eliminating that, but as Brent said, there are issues around batteries that they're trying to fix now. But as of today, one of the biggest polluters is fossil fuels and us driving our cars. So electric vehicles will eliminate a lot of that.
Also,
And,
Leon, real quick, for anybody who's in this space, this also includes like 18-wheelers. So it's not as if, the EV marketplace is restricted to residential cars. You're talking about commercial fleets. You're talking about 18-wheelers. These are delivery vans. I mean, it all is an encompassing of the EV marketplace. So just understand how big this is going to be as it takes a footing.
Yep. So on the slide we have a slide up here, and we have 5 bullet points. So the first bullet point is that out of this $2 trillion package that Biden announced, 174 billion are going towards the electric vehicle charging stations, and that's for things like retooling factories, tax incentives, materials for batteries, things like that. They're going to subsidize a lot of that. The plan is to have 500,000 stations installed by 2030. So in 9 years, they want to go from right now, which is about 41,000, up to 500,000 in 9 years. Just slide below that. You want below that says approximately right now, approximately there are 41,400 EV charging stations in the U.S. right now, but only 5,000 of those are what they call supercharging stations, where the charge happens in 10 minutes or less. Most of them are not fast chargers or superchargers, and those can take anywhere from 30 minutes to an hour to charge. So, I mean, you think about it, if only 5,000 are superchargers, that leaves 36,000 that are not, and that's really not realistic for most people. If you're going a long trip to then sit around for another hour or so just to charge a vehicle, that's why these supercharging stations or fast charging stations are really, really important. So you contrast that with right now, there are 136,400 gas stations in the United States. And right now we only have 41,000 charging stations, only 5,000 are fast chargers. So that shows the immense growth that's going to come behind this. As Brent said earlier, EVs represented only 2% of cars on the road in 2019, and were only 1.8% of light duty trucks. So like things like small trucks, box trucks, vans, those represented 1.8%. So that means it's a massive, massive opportunity here in EVs and electronic charging.
Yeah, and Leon, let me jump into that real quick. So when we look at these, especially the light duty trucks, we're not talking about, this doesn't even go into 18-wheelers. And that's what this is. And the reason I stop here, this is what everybody thought Workhorse was going to excel in this space, the light duty truck space. Everybody was banking on Workhorse to dominate and rule because it's only 1.8% of the new light duty vehicles on the road right now are represented as an EV or categorized as an EV vehicle. And so when you look at it now, think about this. What are the companies? Don't put your money on one. So many people thought Workhorse was just going to be just the end all be all. And they're not out of the game. Let me be very clear. They're not out of the game. But that hurt that happened to them as a result of not winning that UPS, United States Postal Service contract was devastating. It was 90% of their revenue. And so who are the other players? Think about this. This isn't part of our 2 picks, but this is one of those moments where just getting you to think about the market differently is very important. And this is I think this is the part between Leon and I were very similar. I love deconstructing market segments. Like I love deconstructing companies, products, and just looking, what are the components for it? What are the tools? And for anybody that doesn't know, heavy machinery is a gold mine. And when I mean heavy machinery, I'm talking about those big machines where the tires are like 2 stories big. And they're going into the mine, they're pulling out the nickel, and they're driving it back to some destination. I'm talking about the claw machines that they have like their own conferences in Vegas for these things. The excavation materials alone or machinery alone is going to account for a huge infrastructure play inside of the EV marketplace. Because no matter where you are in the world, these items have to be mined. And then think about the trucks. If these monster trucks are going into these really like holes, these huge gaping holes in the earth, they're driving into them, what type of metal are they made of? What type of rubber are they made of? You know, what institutions are training the drivers? How do they transport it? What's the transport plane? Is it Boeing? Probably is. But, you know, when you don't really think about the interconnectedness of the market, these things just slip by you. And this is why, you know, we do these lives. We want to bring you these smaller tidbits just to change the way you think about thinking about investing. It's not linear.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, you're basically talking the ecosystem around the EVs and EV charging. Yeah, what goes into the cars, what goes into the trucks, what goes into these charging stations, because they're companies, also companies that supply all these parts and equipment to these charging stations and to companies like Tesla. So there's a whole ecosystem around it too. So that's, yeah, that was a great point. Last point on the last slide, point on the slide is that right now globally, the estimates are right now that the EV charging station market right now is about $11 billion globally. And by 2027, they're estimating that it's going to reach $113 billion, $113 billion market. So you're talking about in 6 years, growing by 10% or 10x. That's huge. And I've seen some estimates as high as 800 billion by 2030. That's a big difference. But you know, you kind of get the point. This is a massively growing market. This EV charging station market that's coming. I mean, like you said, I mean, the government, it's already being built now slowly by private sector. The government is now getting into the game, is going to help fund this. And so these companies they're going to build out these EV charging stations are going to get a lot of this government money. And once they get all, through all this, it's going to drop to their bottom line. It's going to be good for their stocks, which in turn is good for us as investors.
Yeah, and there's this doesn't even begin, like, write down the date. It's March 31st, 2021. Please know if you were listening to the IEA on this date, because this marketplace is one of those things that later on, like 10 years from now, which is not a long time. Again, 10 years is not a long time. What you do after this live is very important. What you do with this information is very important. Leon and I are already invested in this marketplace. So we truly do these lives because we want the world to have this information, especially the underrepresented communities that normally don't invest or aren't used to investing to the point where they wouldn't deconstruct the ecosystem to figure out what are the other smaller moving parts. And in this EV ecosystem, we're not even talking about the cryptocurrencies that are emerging as a result of these. And there are thousands of cryptocurrencies that are emerging. Some are doing point-to-point transportation. You're looking at supply chain management is kicking in based on token systems with some of these cryptocurrencies. Then you have cryptocurrencies that are giving drivers credits towards each drive completed as a result to get to a greener world. There are so many just parts of this community is just unreal. So if you all think it's just this linear thing where, let's just get some EV cars, no. It's far bigger than that.
Yeah, nah. I mean, the EV cars, the Teslas, the Lee Motors, the XPeng, those are cool, but they're also some public actual charging station companies. And we're gonna list. We have a list of a few. We're gonna list those inside the IEA platform tomorrow for the IEA members. But the charging station companies, you have actual EV companies that make the cars. Then you have the ecosystems around that. So we identified a few that we're going to list for our members inside the IEA platform tomorrow. So any IEA members, look out for that.
Yeah. So with that being said, we owe you all 2 stock picks. Also, too, it's a big deal coming up. I think Tesla is in talks with a merger with Toyota. And if that merger goes through, I want to say it's going to be for their smaller SUV marketplace. And what that does for Toyota is it expedites. Toyota's been having a very hard problem with what Leon talked about earlier, is that whole operating system, that infrastructure system, right? Additionally, with their chips, their processors, they were having serious issues with their processors for electric vehicles inside of Toyotas. They were completing them because, of course, Prius and they have other electric vehicles, but they weren't doing it for the SUV marketplace. Now, Tesla's issue was they couldn't get manufacturing costs down to the level of a Toyota. And Toyota seems to have mastered this manufacturing part more so than Tesla. So when you're looking at like Apple and who's Apple going to partner with and Tesla and who Tesla's going to partner, the consolidation is happening because these companies know they need to grow faster. That's it. Time to market is extremely important. And I mean, Tesla would figure it out, but they know they'll figure it out faster by partnering. All these things are happening because bills are like this. And they know if we can get more cars on the street and we know the infrastructure is coming, what's going to happen? More people will buy them. So let's move our ego to the side, partner with whoever can advance us and make money. So where will you be when all these things happen, when these deals occur?
And also GM has said they're going to move to be a total electric company, I think by 2030. So GM essentially now is an electric vehicle company, electric car company. Ford is moving in that direction too, but GM has committed and said that they are full on board, full all the way electric, where Ford is moving in that direction. So all these companies are becoming electric vehicle vendors. And again, they need this charging station. This build up has to happen. It's like the chicken and egg thing. You can't have the car before the build out of the charging stations, but you need the charging station to have the build out of the cars. So they're sort of doing it in tandem right now. And this government backing is going to be huge to move that forward.
Yep. And so what's up to everybody giving the shouts out? What's going on? So a couple questions came up, Lee. Well, not even questions. These are more discussion points. I love stuff like this. This is why you guys should watch, because we can go live and actually have a conversation, right? So what are your thoughts on Fisker? And while I put you on the spot, I'm gonna tell you my thoughts. So it came up about Fisker. Fisker was a car company, I want to say in 2012. This is off, I'm not doing any research, so if any of this is incorrect, please correct me. It was like 2012 when they hit their height. The car was advanced, the car was beyond its time. And the styling of the car, let me change that statement. The styling of the car was before its time. The premise for creating an electric vehicle, people really weren't there with Fisker. The problem is with their manufacturing for me. Even though they have made a comeback, and comeback just means I think a small company bought them out and they're reproducing the Fisker model cars. They still don't have large scale manufacturing, and they still have very quirky interior designs. So if I had to choose, I wouldn't choose Fisker just for the fact that they have a lot of ground to make up and there are other players out there. So what are your thoughts, Lee?
Fisker for me wouldn't be my go-to EV car, because like you said, they were public like a couple of years ago, then they went private again, and now they're public again. And so when you get that sort of dynamic, I'm like, okay, granted, back then they weren't an EV vehicle company, now they are. But that just speaks to there wasn't a solid business model, or they weren't executing properly, or what have you. So I'm not keen on Fisker. I haven't looked into them deeply, but just because they're not top of mind or even one of the top 3 discussions when people talk EVs, they're not one I would even. I would have to research it, put it like that. Just off the top of my head, Fisker is not one of the ones that I'm looking at, or one of the ones that even some of these new ones, like was it Lucid? I've heard more about them and what they're building and how just awesome their car is than I've heard over Fisker. Doesn't mean it's a better company. Just it's getting more buzz, it's getting more press. I need to do my research, but I just haven't heard really anything good or tangible about Fisker. Yeah.
So Apple, at one point, I want to say Apple had approached Lucid about the partnership, and Lucid said no. Lucid really wants to go for that high end. Lucid, actually, you know what? It's good, interesting you say that. Lucid wants to go after the market Fisker originally wanted to go after, and Malcolm talked about the fact that it was for those Hollywood types, and that's actually 100% accurate. When Fisker first came out, they were all about design. The interior function of their cars was a failure. Even really the parts, anyway, but Lucid came out and they did the very similar model. They were like, we want to cater towards a very high-end exclusive client without necessarily having the name recognition. Lucid is doing a better job with marketing and attending these trade shows and getting the car in front of people, and their designs are just very attractive designs. But yeah, I would absolutely focus on like a Lucid over that, and then you still have Neo kicking down doors. So yeah.
And I heard of another one called Arrival. I don't know if anybody's heard of that, but it's another either hybrid or EV company that's public. The ticker symbol, I believe, is ARVL, I believe. It's called Arrival. I haven't looked into them deeper, haven't done any research, but that's just another one that's out there. I mean, and when, anytime you see this gold rush of companies flooding a market in one particular industry, like EV, you know there's something there, right? I mean, as we know it's guaranteed because, like the state of California, I think by 2030, all new vehicles have to be electric. One of the Asian companies.
No, 2025.
Oh, it's 25. Okay, maybe it's I know one of the Asian countries, the whole country says that either by 2025 or 2030. Japan. Okay, yeah, by 2025 or 2030, all vehicles have to be electric. So we know this is going to happen, right? It's just which companies are going to survive, which ones are not, and then I'm sure you're going to have a lot of mergers in between as well.
Yeah, all these things are definitely a go. And GM, even with GM being the one that says we're going to convert the entire fleet or the brand to electric vehicles, doesn't necessarily make their stock the win, because you still have to think about growth. You still have to talk about market adoption. And just because GM has said they're going to move in that direction doesn't mean all of a sudden it's a win. But everybody talking about it again. We're talking police force. We're talking federal organizations. We're talking about universities and these large corporations moving an entire fleet of vehicles to EVs. And I hate to keep bringing it up, but we talk about workhorse. That was workhorse's like hope, like that we're going to get the United Postal Service to then convert to our vehicles. So I bring that up to say they're going to convert to somebody's vehicles that are electric because the government's probably going to give them incentives to do it. It's going to be their opportunity to get upgrading cars with minimal cost with the incentives, tax incentives I'm sure they're going to get. And it's a market to follow. It's a market to follow very closely. Leon and I are even talking about doing some things with the Panthers that could lead to us having, a significant amount of vehicles on the road with the IEA emblem possibly. So we're, all types of things are happening, but it's going to be a good time. And we're definitely going to be invested in it. So
yeah, and just real quick. So and also to show how this gold rush mentality in the EV space is not always good. There's a company called Lordstown Motors, who they're an EV. I believe they may deal in I think they deal in truck, like light trucks, pickup trucks, sort of thing. They've been called out by a short seller by the name of Hindenburg. If you go Google Hindenburg and Lordstown, you'll find out so Hindenburg is a notorious short seller, and they put out a lot of research on companies, and most of the time they're right. The whole like GameStop crew, the Wall Street Bets crew, they hate these short sellers because they say, oh, it's un-American, and you're driving stock prices down. Well, they circle function the market, right? Like they put out research on bad companies, and a lot of times they're right. Who's the other one? Who's the one? Nicola. I believe it was either Lordstown or another
Nicola.
Yeah, but how do you say it? That guy, that company. Whomever, it was either Hindenburg or another short seller put out a report basically saying that they were fraudulent, right? And it came out to be true. Like they had this video out a couple months ago of their truck, and I believe it's a semi 16-wheeler truck. It was going, driving down a road, and everybody's like, oh, great, they have an 18-wheeler that's actually a functional EV. Well, it turned out what they weren't showing you was that the truck was either being pulled by another car, or the fact that it was on a hill, it was moving. The truck had no powertrain, and they were trying to make it look like they'd mastered the semi truck electric vehicle, which turned out not to be true, and their stock plummeted once they were called out. Same thing with Lordstown. Hindenburg called them out and said that their orders were basically a lie. They essentially had no orders. Their CEO went on TV the other day and was like, "Well, we never said the orders we he was fumbling all over himself. He was like, we never said we had orders. We said we had interest in orders." And people were like, "No, you said you had orders." And so it was this whole back and forth. And so I say all that to say the EV space, it's a gold rush mentality. Everybody's trying to get in there to make a little money. These companies are going public via SPACs. This is why we always say, you gotta do your research. Lordstown.
Leon, real quick. You mean Lordstown in Ohio?
Yeah. Huh?
Okay.
Yeah, Lordstown and Nicola. are two EV companies that have been called out for being way too hype about their own products, and they're nowhere near the point where they said they were as far as delivering a product. So again, so I got, and then you look at the stock prices, they've taken 30, 40, 50% hits. So that's what I always say, do your research.
Yeah, a lot of these companies are just smoking mirrors right now.
Yeah.
With valuations that are through the roof. And somebody asked, let me see. Matisse asked about an ETF for the EV marketplace. We actually posted that inside of the platform. What we'll do is we'll go back in and put it, like, move it to a notification, but it's inside the platform. We'll just make it relevant again. So it's definitely there.
Yeah, look for that post tomorrow.
Yeah. So let me see. I think that's everything. We owe you all some stock picks. And again, for anybody who wants to join us over at on Clubhouse, just look for Leon Noble or Brent Simpson, IEA talking about money. It's gonna be something like that. And we got to figure it out. We got to make it standardized. We got to stand it. So I can say it smoothly. Additionally, for anybody who's looking to become part of the community, we keep getting a steady trickle of people joining. So we are so thankful for each and every member. And we have a new intern joining, more to come about that later. So just understand, like, as we grow, we're actually giving back, and we're making sure that some of the younger people in our community are educated on investing, how to invest, what it means, and they're taking this information to their own communities. So it's a trickle-down effect, which is awesome. And the people who are writing us to become interns for Investing Education Academy, we definitely thank you. As we can, we'll make those opportunities available, but just give us a moment, because we also have the IA Crypto Bulls coming out right now, so we can't process all of the requests. But for those of you all who are like, oh, what's that? The IA Crypto Bulls is going to be Investing Education Academy's platform just to talk about crypto. And it's going to be aggressive. It's going to be fast-paced. It's going to be, conversations, real-time conversations. It's going to be a mastermind style. And we've met some amazing people who not only understand cryptocurrency, but they know about the non-fungible tokens and how these, the difference between an exchange, a wallet, and cold storage. Some people don't even know that. And so we've come across people that have an understanding similar to Leon and I. So we're super excited about that. And we decided to make it a separate platform because that marketplace is going to go a lot faster. The growth and volatility in the cryptocurrency space is faster. And we're talking about 12,000 plus investable cryptos. And even understand what these cryptos are, like, most people don't truly know what they are. So we're going to be in there. It's going to be fast paced. It's going to be some wins, some losses. But if you're interested, let us know. We're setting up everything now. We should be ready to launch in about 2 weeks. So yes, just know IEA Crypto Bulls is coming, and it will be a separate platform from Investing Education Academy. So the picks, I'll go first. All right. That wasn't my pick. It wasn't Julio. Hold on. I was checking Julio out though. So I picked a company called CrowdStrike Holdings. CrowdStrike Holdings, basically, their cybersecurity is the best way I can summarize all of that. And they look at the cloud, like protecting corporations and investors and different types of businesses, government entities, different countries from threats that will come over the internet. So with where we're moving towards, cloud computing is huge. Again, we're tip of the iceberg with it. With cloud computing comes defense. How do you protect yourself to make sure your information is not being compromised? The company, let me see, pull up the finance. The ticker symbol is CRWD. CrowdStrike Holdings. The ticker symbol is CRWD. Currently trading at $182 per share. They have market cap of $40 billion. And let me just talk about this for a minute. We still have a platform or a company that is going to help protect just technology in like 7 different countries right now. And that I'm sure that will expand. But in addition to that, what we're talking about, this EV marketplace, these cars are going to be run by something called technology. And the technology, a lot of the information is going to be in the cloud. Security for all of these devices, like our world as it's changing, is utterly important, especially when we move into quantum computing and, just it's so much to talk about. But just from a common sense standpoint, if you really look at where we're headed, defense on these networks is going to be vital. So I think this company is well positioned. They already have a market cap of 40 billion, which, they're not a small cap company. And that gives them the ability to actually have research and development dollars to continue to have a hold in the marketplace. So I love them for that. And Leon, I know you're familiar with them. So anything you want to say about them?
Yeah, I mean, yeah. So I actually told him earlier, I just bought CrowdStrike last week in my personal account. But I mean, think about it. So for anyone who doesn't know or who does know, the Solarwinds hack. If you don't know what I'm talking about, just Google it. It was a huge, massive, possibly one of the biggest hacks in U.S. history that happened to a company called Solarwinds, who does tons of. I mean, they're one of the biggest cybersecurity companies on the planet. They do tons of work with private sector. They also do tons of work with the federal government. So right now, whoever hacked it is still in there. Like they haven't. This thing has not been cleaned up. They haven't even got to the tip of the iceberg yet. So that's one huge hack that hasn't happened recently. The other one is Microsoft. Microsoft's Exchange server, which is their email server, was hacked. I think 2 weeks ago. Huge. I mean, Microsoft. Most companies around the world, I believe, use Microsoft Exchange server for their email. So, so cybersecurity is, to me, it's almost. I mean, again, nothing is guaranteed, but to me, it's almost one of the closest things to a can't miss industry. Because, and as Brent said, even with EVs, like right now, Tesla right now updates their cars over the air with software. That's via the network, right? That's technology. Tesla does not want that to be hacked. Tesla does not want that information to be shared. So again, Tesla has in place security measures. Companies like CrowdStrike, companies like SolarWinds, things that, I mean, yeah, anybody that's in the cybersecurity space is, to me, is a good potential investment. Of course, there are going to be winners, there are going to be losers, but I mean, to me, it's almost you can't lose if you pick a quality company in cybersecurity. So, having said all that, my pick is nothing to do with security. My pick goes along with the theme today, which is ChargePoint. Today they closed, ticker symbol CHPT. Today they closed at $26.70. They were up the stock was up 18% today. And the reason is the Biden announcement. ChargePoint is the largest charging system provider in the United States. They're going to get I'm sure they're going to get a large chunk of this 174 billion that's going towards building out this ChargePoint network. So I'm just going to read some stats. So this one stood out to me like crazy. ChargePoint, this is before Biden's infrastructure play. Like this is before the announcement today.
I think you love the statistic.
Yeah, dude, love. This company is projecting 60% annual growth rate for the next 7 years, and they're predicting to reach $2 billion in revenue by 2027. Again, they're looking to grow. They're looking at the company growing 60% for the next 7 years. Most companies right now can't even see the next year because of COVID. They're saying they can see out 7 years and 60% growth rate. Unbelievable. That right there stopped me in my tracks. So right now the U.S. charging market is growing at about roughly 40% annually per year, and it's looking to grow at that rate between now and 2028. So ChargePoint has the largest network of charging stations in the United States. It's 7 times larger than its closest competitor, which is Blink. The company currently services more than 4,000 customers, including 60% of Fortune 500 companies. 60% of Fortune 50 companies. The company is targeting to deploy 2.5 million charging stations by 2025, further strengthening its leadership. So ChargePoint is by far right now the leading EV charge company in the United States. And like I said, with this new announcement by Biden, and again, remember, they're projecting 60% annual growth rate for the next 7 years. And that was before the Biden announcement. So ChargePoint is my pick. And yeah, again, ticker symbol CHPT, and they were up 18% just today because of this Biden announcement.
Yeah. So everybody, if you would like to, have recap, that was ChargePoint Holdings, ticker symbol CHPT. Again, ChargePoint, ticker symbol CHPT. And the other pick for today is CrowdStrike Holdings, ticker symbol CRWD. Again, CrowdStrike Holdings, ticker symbol CRWD. And I don't think anybody truly understands that since Leon and I started, we've picked over like 100 different stocks for you all. And, a lot of people are like, oh, just we open up a book and we pick stocks. We do not. So
no, we do not.
It's a lot of research that goes into these picks. And some of the people that have invested, I'm not even talking about our members. I'm talking about the people that just invested in some of the stocks that we've chosen are up 40, 30, 50, 60, 70%. 70% is the highest I've heard. So, I'm gonna stop there. But I'm sure there are people who are up more than that because I know I picked some of the stocks we choose. And I know I'm up more than 70% for last year. So I closed out the year 82% rate of return. And, in that space, you have to realize what's happening right now. Every time we do a live, you have an opportunity to move on it or not. But also, some of you all who have bought some of the stocks from before, revisit them. Do they still make sense for your portfolio? And I'm saying it's good and bad because the market changes. And, I would love to say everybody that watches these are an IEA insider or Panther or community member, but I know you're not. And you might forget to revisit them. Markets change, things change, your suitability changes, your life reasons for investing have changed. Revisit the ones if you also purchase. Do they still make sense for you? Should you be getting more? And that's actually one of the things that sometimes I'm like, I feel like my hands are tied because I want to re-pick a stock. And it's like, we can't do, like, we're doing just new stocks. I'm like, oh, so many good ones. But, revisit some of the ones maybe that you didn't buy. Is it now a good time for it? Because some of these stocks right now are on sale. That's the way I'm going to choose to say it. 20, 30, 40% just because of what's been going on in the market. Nothing has changed about these companies besides the fact that some of the valuations shouldn't have been what they were anyway. But these companies still are poised to, have a comeback over the next 2 years.
I mean, today was a good example, right? The market's been down. The market's been choppy as just crazy choppy the last month. Right. Last actually 2 months. It's been basically sideways. Today you got a pop of almost, I don't know, between anywhere in your portfolio, 2 to 4%. Right. And people are like, oh, why did it pop? Nobody knows. Like, we can never answer that question. Like, I hate when people ask that question because no one can ever answer it. However, the point is on these down moves, that's when you want to buy. Like I was telling a friend earlier today, money is made in the market on down days, not on up days, and not when you sell. Right. The money is made on days when you're buying at a discount, because that's when you get that low discount. And then 3, 4, 5 years down the line, you're up 60, 70%. If you wait for things that, if you wait, it's like the way I just say, if you hear it in the news, it's probably too late to buy, or at least you've missed a big run.
No, don't say that.
No, I know. Yeah. No, I know. Let me say that. It's not too late, but you've missed a big run in the stock. Had you bought when it was, if you did the research, had you bought when that thing was down 10, 20, 30%, you'd make it a killing. I mean, like I said, times like this, I love markets like this when they're choppy, when they're down, because I know, 1, 3, 5 years out, I'm going to see a 10, 20, 30, 40% return on my money. So yeah, just, times like this, don't panic. Don't fret, especially if you're part of a community like IEA. We got you. We will console you. We will tell you, we will at least guide you through what we've done.
Do you want to tell them the update about the account?
No, you can do that. Don't know what you're referring to, but
the update. So we started trading the IEA brokerage account.
Oh, right. I was like, yes. We finally, we've been saying we're going to do it forever, and we just finally have gotten around to doing it. So yes, we finally made some trades. So we have a separate brokerage account for IEA, aside from Brent and I's personal account, that we're going to share the details of what we buy, why we buy. We give a report and some details to our insider members and our portfolio Panther members. So yes, that was a finally piece of exciting news that we did last week, this week. So insiders and Panthers, you assume you're getting a report on what we've taken recently.
Yep. And so for insiders, you'll be getting pretty much a synopsis of what we've done. Panthers, you all will actually see the trades, and we probably will be bringing the information to you as close to real time as we can. As we can.
Yes, we can.
As we can. But no, I'm really excited because so many people have wondered, like, how do you trade? And how do you two trade? Or what do you all trade? Or how do you get the numbers you get? So you get to see our trades. And, you know, again, even with seeing that or getting the report, do your research. I'm excited to really put this on display because I think people have a lot of questions about how Leon and I trade. And this will give them not only some insight, but they'll literally get the report. So full transparency, it won't be all wins. Don't expect all wins.
Not at all. Not at all. Oh, we have, like I said, we have some losers. Oh, trust. If we didn't, we would be at 100%. No, we have some losers. I mean, so since we've been doing this since April of last year, our average return is about between 30 and 40%. I mean, I haven't checked it in a few weeks, but we're talking about 30, 40%.
I think it's 37.
30 what?
37.
37. So average return on the stock we've picked publicly here on our lives, 37% return on average. But we're not at 100%. That means we have losers. We don't always pick right. We definitely take losses. But the goal is to have your losses be smaller than your wins and to have less losses, less stocks that lose than the ones that win. So that's risk management. That's something that we also pride ourselves in.
Yeah, and the goal of us doing this isn't to say, look at us, look what we can do. It's to show you that we're human too. We're fallible. Like we have some picks that are like, we have some stocks that are just crawling along. We have some that are just climbing, like they took off. They're in the marathon, they're doing a sprint. It's just we have a variety of them in the account, but then also we buy stocks for different reasons. Not everyone is designed to have this fast growth. It might be dividend, it might be ETFs, but whatever it is, and actually we already have ETFs in the account. You get to see what we do, and I'm excited because we're going to show you the human side of investing, and that is not all glamour. But in the long run, it normally will go bottom left, top right. And we hope that's what happens.
Right. Well, I mean, that's been historically the way it's worked. Let's hope that never changes.
Yeah, we've done pretty well in the market. So, you know, it's the good things that happen. So also update, land in Ghana has recently been cleared. And we actually have pillars that say Investing Education Academy in the soil in Africa, which is amazing because it's actually on the west coast of Africa. And if anybody's understanding the slave trade, that's where many of the slaves left from the west coast of Africa. And to go back and actually buy land where our ancestors were taken from as an owner has emotionally been overwhelming at times. But the other just opportunities that have abound from that, we never anticipated. And so it's a really amazing thing. And I wanted to, publicly say I love being able to take this route with Leon. And then to do it in just the wide open with you all. And it's, some of you all have bought land with us. Some of you all have, expressed interest in it. Some of you all are watching to see what happens with us. We're the experiment. So,
right. And we said it up front. We were like, yo, we told the portfolio Panthers, we're like, look, we're kind of the experiment. We'll kind of test the waters and then bring it to them. And we are. And so, so far it's been a great experience. As Brent said, we now own land where slaves were taken before. It's really great to see our pillars, Investing Education Academy pillars in the ground of the land that we bought. It's a cool feeling.
Yeah. So everybody, if you'd like to join us over on Clubhouse, feel free. We should be there about 10. For everybody that's been joining us today, thank you so much. Everybody listening to the podcast, you continue to make this awesome, and our numbers are ticking up, and people are listening to us in several different countries. So thank you for all of our international listeners. And anybody interested in the IA Crypto Bulls, it's going to move fast. We're actually playing with, and this is the first time I'm even saying it to Leon, capping the membership to maybe a few members initially, and then increasing the price incrementally with the various cohorts. So the first cohort, and Leon, we'll talk about it in detail, but the first cohort may be 10 or 15 people because we need to control the conversations. And then the next cohort will be another 10 to 15, but it's going to be at a higher price point. So for those of you all who want to wait, it will be a penalty for waiting. So, if you're interested, get in contact with me, direct message me or Leon, and we'll give you details. And again, about 2 weeks, we'll be launching that. And the price movements in there, it's incredible.
Yeah.
So,
Crypto's fun.
yeah. All right, everybody, have a great day.